This video, I'm going to be addressing the most common questions I get asked about Mac Pro 2019s. And why would someone ask this guy about Mac Pro 2019s? Well, I happen to write a series of guides on the Mac Pros, including the Mac Pro 2019. Again, this is going to be the most common questions that I get from you guys. Well, maybe not you in particular, but you get what I mean. The very first question on this list is one I'm surprised I've been asked more than once, and that is, can you install another Thunderbolt card into your Mac Pro 2019? So this takes a little context because this answer is no, but yes. And it's not the way you think it is. So the Mac Pro 2019 comes with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. The 2 on the top are Thunderbolt, they're on the very top of the case, and there's 2 on the back. Those exist on a PCIe card. This is a card that also functions as the headphone jack and has USB on it. But this is a very special PCIe port, the very top one, that is the only one that can support this card. So if you were to find another one of these cards and stick it into any other slot on your Mac Pro 2019, it will not function as a Thunderbolt card, and I don't know if it'll even work at all. So you cannot double down on PCIe cards to get more Thunderbolt ports, except with the MPX GPUs. Every GPU, I believe, above the RX 580X can support more Thunderbolt ports. I wish I had one of these cards to show you, but I don't. These cards are expensive. That's why I went with a third-party GPU. So when you buy a Mac Pro 2019, it can have 4 ports or more based on the MPX GPU, or if it has a MPX GPU on it. So out of the gate, yes, you can add more, but you have to do it through a PCIe card that uses MPX. The way that's possible is the MPX slots have additional ports on the, hopefully I'm putting on the screen right now what the MPX slot looks like. The next question on my list is pretty easy to answer, and that is, can you use a PC graphics card in your Mac Pro 2019? And the answer is yes, provided it fits. The Mac Pro 2019 is a large computer, but it can only house graphics cards that are 305mm long, or in Freedom units, 12 inches. That's the only thing you really need to worry about. But the next follow-up question is one that ties into this previous one. Can you use an NVIDIA GPU in your Mac Pro 2019? Again, the answer is yes, but it won't be supported in Mac OS because Apple and NVIDIA do not like each other. Thus, there have never been drivers that have worked with the Mac Pro 2019 other than for very, very old NVIDIA GPUs. So therefore, you cannot use a NVIDIA GPU in Mac OS, but you can in Windows and Linux. The third GPU question I get asked a lot is, do you need to flash the graphics cards to get boot screens with the Mac Pro 2019? This is a very classic Mac Pro line of thinking because those use EFI and not the UEFI standard. This gets really into the woods about low-level drivers that are used for boot screens. And the short answer is the Mac Pro 2019 uses UEFI, so this is not a problem. The next GPU question I get asked a lot is, can you use a Radeon Series 7000 GPU in your Mac Pro 2019? Answer is yes, but it doesn't have Mac OS drivers, and Apple doesn't seem like they're ever going to support these, unfortunately. So you're stuck with the 6000 series GPUs. And to piggyback on that, sometimes I get even asked, can I use a Radeon 6950 XT? The answer is yes, but you need to use OpenCore to spoof the drivers, spoof the idea of the graphics card, so the drivers will work on your Mac Pro 2019. It is what it is. Apple just hasn't budged on this. The next question I have on my list is, can you add cooling fans to your Mac Pro 2019? Well, yeah, I'm sure you could, but almost no one has ever attempted this because the entire case design is designed around the cooling. Those funky billets on the front are literally designed to reduce the air noise. And then it just has 3 giant intake fans that blow across the computer. Everything's designed to the T to be as quiet as possible, and it rarely revs up, and when it does, it rarely gets loud. So yeah, you could try, but you probably don't want to. Are there third-party wheels for the Mac Pro 2019? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I only got this question once in my entire life, but I thought it'd be fun to answer. OWC does make a set. They're about $220. They're not quite as stylish as the Mac Pro 2019 wheels, but they're a lot cheaper. And they're also equally as poorly designed as they don't have a locking mechanism either. Can I boot off NVMe SSDs? Answer is yes, you can. You just need to go into recovery mode and lower your security settings so you can boot off external volumes. Also notable, do not remove the internal SSDs that Apple ships with. The computer will not boot without those. Do I need special SSDs for my Mac Pro 2019? Nope, not with NVMe. Any of the drives pretty much will work with your Mac Pro 2019. Just be aware that it is a PCIe 3.0 computer, so you don't really need to buy the latest and greatest SSDs. You can bargain hunt for PCIe 3.0 SSDs, and you should be able to get a better deal on those, or at least for the time being. PCIe 4.0 drives will work in the Mac Pro 2019, and you can save a penny or two by buying those. Or I said that backwards. Sorry, I was concentrating trying to open this beer, but you got what I meant. Buy the 3.0 drives, don't overpay for 4.0, but 4.0 will work fine. The beer goes in the glass for the YouTube video. Can I use PCIe cards that host multiple NVMe drives? Yes, provided they have a specialized chipset. You've probably heard this on my channel if you watch me talk about Mac Pros at all, about bifurcation. Basically, you can take like an 8x slot and then split it into two 4x slots if you have a computer that supports bifurcation. The Mac Pro 2019 doesn't support this, nor does even the Mac Pro 2023. None of the Mac Pros have ever supported this feature, which is sad because it's the easy way to get a cheap card that you can install multiple NVMe drives on. However, with a card like the Sonnet 4x4X Silent, you can install 4 PCIe drives onto a single card and it'll be blazing fast. I have an entire video on it and I'll have it linked in the description. Can I use external PCIe Thunderbolt cases? Funny you should ask that. I have a video coming out just about that topic, and the answer is yes, you can. When will Apple drop Intel support? It's just a guessing game. No one really knows. It's just pure speculation. If I had to guess, between 2026 to 2028, probably closer to 2026. Can I use normal PCIe cards than MPX slots? And the answer is yes, you can. The MPX slots are just a PCIe slot that has a secondary slot behind the main PCIe slot that doesn't interfere with normal PCIe cards. These are also nice because this marks the fastest PCIe slots in the computer. Not all PCIe slots are created equally. Some have direct CPU access and some are behind a chipset known as the PCH in these computers, and I believe it was the North Bridge in older computers. This handles the lane switching between the different cards because you really don't have that many direct lane accesses to the CPU. So for the fastest performance, you want to stick your GPU in one of the MPX slots, and then your SSDs, if you're booting off SSDs that are NVMe on the PCIe slot, stick that in the other one, and that'll give you the best overall performance. It won't be super noticeable, but that's the pro tip. After upgrading my GPU with a PC GPU, why can't I connect my monitor over Thunderbolt? Oh boy. You can't? This is a point that I've tried to make in my other videos, but I don't think it's been ever made this explicitly. If you remove an MPX GPU from your Mac Pro 2019 and you don't have another one in there, you're going to lose all your video over Thunderbolt. The ports will still work for data, so things like audio interfaces or SSDs will still work, but you will lose the ability to do video over Thunderbolt. So if you want to keep that, you have to leave an MPX GPU in your Mac. And anything that's connected to those Thunderbolt ports with the video are going to be using that GPU. Can I use an ATX power supply in my Mac Pro 2019? I'm not even going to speculate how feasible this is. It's a very proprietary design. If you haven't seen it, it's just a slot at the bottom of the computer that you can just slide out the entire power supply. And it's 1,400 watts. That's so much power. So let me read some stats that I found that I thought were really interesting. Apple published its total power draw with a really ridiculous configuration. So this is a Mac Pro 2019 that's almost completely maxed out. It has 2 dual GPUs in it. So that's a stack of 4 GPUs, 1.5 terabytes of RAM, 28 core CPU, and the Afterburner card. Under full load, Apple says it consumes 902 watts. there's still 500 watts of overhead with the PSU. The only reason I think anyone would ever do this is they have a severely broken Mac Pro 2019 missing parts, so they can't swap it out with Apple, or more likely they just want to get internet karma for swapping out the power supply in the Mac Pro 2019. I have 32-bit Mac applications I'd like to keep using. Can I install macOS 14 Mojave on the Mac Pro 2019? Nope, but you can run virtual machines and run old macOS that way. Maybe it'd work for your use case? Try that. Can I run Windows 11? Yes, but it's technically unsupported, so you will have to use a unsupported method to install Windows 11. Right below that, I have a question about, can I run some obscure version of Linux on the Mac Pro 2019? And the answer is probably. You'll have to look at the system requirements for that OS, but it is an x86 computer, so it can run x86 OSs. And then the final question I have is, can I run Whiskey on my Mac Pro 2019? Whiskey is a GPTK library-based way of running Windows applications and Mac OS, specifically games. And no, you can't. It's only for Apple Silicon. But you can dual boot to Windows and run the game natively and get much better performance. It's still probably the best gaming computer Apple's produced. Maybe the M4 Ultra might provide better frame rates in a few games than the Mac Pro 2019. Who knows? Alright, I think this has been a pretty good video. Probably gonna finish this beer and call it a night. I hope you guys enjoyed this style video. And as always, thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel. Night.